Okay, great. You good? Okay, they're coming.
Good morning. I'm just about to start, so could you ensure your cell phones are off? And I'm going to ask you to stand until the processions come in and they've sat down. Once they've sat down, then you can sit down. Okay, so I'll get you to stand now, please.
Thank you and welcome. I now ask you all to remain standing, and I would ask Miss Maggie Curry to come to the stage for the singing of O Canada.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Okay, please be seated. I didn't realize I had that much power. So good morning and welcome to the inaugural, or the first meeting of the 2022 to 2026 term of the Township of Muskoka Lakes Council. My name is Derrick Hammond and I'm the Township's Chief Administrative Officer. And I'd like to call this meeting to order by the official garment and watch I'm wearing at 11:14 a.m. I'd like to now call forward Lauren Tarasuk, the Township's Clerk, to administer the Declaration of Election.
Pursuant to the Municipal Elections Act, it is my privilege as Municipal Clerk for the Township of Muskoka Lakes to officially announce the successful candidates elected to the offices of mayor and members of council for the 2022-2026 term of council. I would kindly request that the mayor-elect and council-elect please stand when their name is announced and to remain standing until all names have been announced. As originally declared on October 25th, 2022, the following candidates were duly elected as a result of the Township of Muskoka Lakes 2022 municipal election held on October 24th, 2022. Mayor Peter Kelly. If I could ask you just to rise when I call your name, thank you. District and Township Councilor, Ward A/1, Ruth Ellen Ishikawa. Township Councilor, Ward A/1, Mary Ellen McIntyre and Glenn Zavitz. District and Township Councilor, Ward B2, Alan Edwards. Township Councilor, Ward B2, Susan Mazan and Gordon Roberts. District and Township Councilor, Ward C3, Guy Burry. Township Councilor, Ward C3, Rob Ozenworth and Sally Moyer Kent. Congratulations to you all. You may now be seated. Thank you. I would now like to welcome to the stage Justice of the Peace Marnie Hudswell to administer the declarations of office to the mayor-elect and councilors-elect.
Thank you. I would like to invite the mayor-elect and council-elect to please stand again to administer the declaration of office pursuant to Section 232 of the Municipal Act. Do you, Peter Kelly, having been elected to the office of mayor, Ruth Ellen Nishikawa, having been elected to the office of district and township councilor Ward A, Mary Ellen McIntyre and Glenn Zavitz, having been elected to the office of township councilor Ward A, Alan Edwards, having been elected to the office of district and township councilor Ward B, Susan Mazan and Gordon Roberts, having been elected to the office of township councilor Ward B, Guy Burry, having been elected to the office of district and township councilor Ward C, Sally Moyer Kent and Rob Ozenworth, having been elected to the office of Township Councilor, Ward C, in the Township of Muskoka Lakes, in the District Municipality of Muskoka, do you solemnly promise and declare that you will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of your knowledge and ability? That you have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner. That you will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
I swear.
And that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III.
I swear.
And lastly, that you make this solemn promise and declaration, conscientiously believing it to be true, and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if it made under oath.
I swear.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in accordance with the provisions of Sections 231 and 232 of the Municipal Act, I am pleased to confirm that the mayor and members of council have now been duly sworn into office, and that the new council for the Township of Muskoka Lakes is deemed to be organized. Mayor and members of council, I would now ask that you please be seated. And I would ask that each of you approach the desk one at a time, starting with Mayor Kelly, to sign your declaration of office.
Alan Zavitz. Alan Edwards. Susan Mazan. Gordon Roberts. Guy Burry. Rob Bosamore. Sally Moyer Kent.
I will now ask Mayor Kelly to please approach the podium so I may present the official chain of office. Thank you.
Mayor Kelly and members of council, on behalf of staff, congratulations on being sworn in. I'd also like to thank Justice of the Peace Hudswell for swearing in our newly elected council. At this time, I'd like to introduce members of staff that are with us this morning. I'd like to ask them to stand as I call their names, starting with Ken Beckin, who is our Director of Public Works. He also doubled as our paper this morning. Thanks for that, Ken. Mark Donaldson, our Director of Financial Services. Sarah Lehman, Manager of Human Resources. Ryan Rull, our Fire Chief. And of course, Tarasuk, our clerk. Kathy Duck, our chief librarian. We also have members from our legislative services team who were integral in ensuring today went smoothly, so I'd like to acknowledge them as well. So we have Cheryl Hollis, our deputy clerk. Persephone Seal, our committee and council coordinator. Rochelle Story, land and agreements coordinator. Kayleen Turchett, our communications advisor. We also have staff from our planning and economic development areas, so if they could stand as well, please. And we're also capably represented by bylaw enforcement, so thank you. I'd also like to acknowledge and welcome Amy Back, District Clerk. If she could stand as well. And Laurie McDonald, clerk for the town of Bracebridge, is here today as well. Thank you so much for coming. Much appreciated. At this time, I'd like to invite Mayor Peter Kelly to the podium to provide his inaugural address. And in doing so, I'll be turning over the proceedings to him to act as presiding officer for the municipality pursuant to the Municipal Act. So Peter, if you could come to the stage, please. Thank you.
Okay, I must have misunderstood. I thought the piper preceded me everywhere I went with this. But thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm going to purposefully keep this brief. The problem is my definition of brief and yours is probably very different. So what is a few words followed by lunch might become a few words followed by dinner. Who knows? But I've kept notes in order to keep me on track and keep me from digressing too much. Let me start with this. Distinguished guests, fellow councilors, members of township staff, ladies, gentlemen, friends, and neighbors. Welcome to this inaugural meeting of the 2022 term of council for the Township of Muskoka Lakes. It's really, really gratifying and really, really important that you're here. I appreciate it very much. This is really a critical piece of our whole democratic process. And it's important to have people who care enough to stay involved and to keep watch over it. I am truly honored and humbled, quite frankly, to have been chosen to serve as your mayor. It's a really rare privilege for anybody to be selected to have the opportunity at this level to serve the community that they love so much. And I thank you all very much for the support. I thank you very much for trusting me with this honor. I do promise to take this very seriously. I do promise to exercise my authority or powers as prudently as possible and always in the best interests of this township. I'm going to move on to the next phase. I'm going to spend a little bit of time saying thank you to a few people. And before I do that, I do also want to mention, I don't think I heard Derrick say it, but we are also joined today by District Councilor Don Smith, who I can see there is back there. Thank you and welcome, Don. Thank you very much. First thing I want to start with, and I sort of alluded to it a minute ago. If you're here, I'm going to take a wild guess that you probably also voted in this past election. And for that, I thank you. I thank you for upholding your civic duty. I thank you for taking the responsibility of participating in our democratic process willingly and engaging in that freely. And again, thank you very much. I also want to talk about the other 9 members of our council here. It's really gratifying for me to see 5 familiar faces sitting here with us. And maybe you can wave, I think we already know who you are. District Councilors Edwards and Nishikawa, who I believe are actually starting both, is it your 4th term? 3rd? 5th? Ruth? 4th. Too many. Too many, okay, we don't count. We stopped counting apparently. And Township Councilors Mazan, Roberts, and Zavitz, also joining us from the last time around. I'm just as thrilled to see 4 new faces, District Councilor Burry and Township Councilors Bosenworth, McIntyre, and Moyer-Kent. They bring fresh new ideas, they bring a different perspective to the council table, and I actually believe council will be better for that. Over the last several weeks, I have taken the opportunity to meet with, mostly by telephone, with each of the 9 councilors, just with some simple goals. I'd like to get to know the new ones better. I'd like to reacquaint myself, obviously, with the ones that I served with last term. And generally, I really wanted to understand what drove them to put their name up and run for re-election, or in some cases for election, this time around. For the returning members, the word that I got back was almost unanimously, we have more work to do. We have good work started and not yet completed. I think that's a tremendously honorable reason to rejoin council. For the new members, there was a common theme about, I've built a bank of experience, I've built a bank of understanding, and I really think I can give back to this community, a community that I love very much. I also think that's a tremendous reason to stand for election. I'm going to talk a little bit about our shared set of priorities. We really don't have anything formal, but having talked or spoken with each of them, I've pulled 2 or 3 threads that kind of look like a common ground for a strategy going forward. But I can tell you right now, I am extremely pleased to be part of their team. Do we come to this table from a common starting point? No, we don't. Do we have identical goals? I doubt it very much. Do we share a common sense of what issues need to be addressed first or fastest? Sorry, I don't think we share that either. But I think it's these differences that are going to make us a very strong council. The best decisions will come from looking at situations through different lenses, with different perspectives, different backgrounds, and together we'll find better answers as a result. There's also a bit of good news that I certainly heard from every one of them, and that is there's 3 common characteristics that we tend to share. We have a deep, deep passion for the Township of Muskoka Lakes. Most of us, many of us, have many years, many generations in some cases, relating or relationship here with this place. We each come to this position with a strong sense of ethics and a strong sense of respect. And finally, we are all committed to serving the township, our constituents, to the best of our abilities. I think that's a pretty decent place to start any new endeavor, especially a council that represents this township. One quick thought. The pursuit of public office, this decision to stand for election and go through the process, is really quite stressful. It's mentally demanding, it's emotionally challenging, and you do all this in the vacuum of not knowing whether you're going to succeed or not. It's the world's largest and most public job interview that anybody has ever undertaken. Please join me in celebrating these 9 who stood up and now stand ready, willing, and able to help this township to the best of their abilities. So, move on a little bit. I mentioned that there are 4 new faces around the table, and that by necessity means that we will be saying goodbye, or have said goodbye, to 4 individuals who were with us last term. I want to acknowledge them. I think a couple of them, 3 of them may be in the room with us. But let me start with Councilors Bridgman, Hayes, and Jagowitz. Each of these 3 councilors made a tremendous contribution to this township and to our residents in the last term. Each of them will be missed as we move forward without them. I think that, I know Councilor Jagowitz and Councilor Bridgman are both here. I don't think Councilor Hayes is. If you could please stand and be acknowledged, let's show them how much we appreciate it. And I know we wish you all the best for whatever life takes you to next. Best wishes and good luck. I also want to say a special word of thanks to our former mayor, Phil Harding. People tend to think that politics is some sort of a blood sport. They tend to think that it's kind of a personal grudge match, particularly at election time. I'm going to tell you that nothing could be further from the truth. Done well, politics is an opportunity for good people, honorable people, to pursue community goals. It's not a personal competition. It really almost never is a personal competition. It's a competition of ideas. Phil Harding served 3 terms on council, a huge commitment to this township, 12 years, and one for which I have tremendous respect. He is not here. He may be watching on video. Please join me in showing appreciation for his service to the township. Okay, there's a couple more people that I want to acknowledge. First, we heard from Derrick Hammond earlier. Derrick has a difficult job, a really difficult job, because Derrick is the only person on staff who actually reports to council, and he reports to all of us as a whole. Who's Derrick? Who's around there? I thought he ran. Reports to all of us, as a whole. It must be an extraordinary phenomenon to have to deal with 10 different faces, 10 different names, and all the while making certain that the will of council is being expressed and not just the will of any individual one of us. He's also the person responsible for the performance of our staff, the whole group of them. I can tell you, as someone who served last term on council, on township council, we on council came to expect Derrick to perform flawlessly, and he did. He supported us tremendously. He was well ahead of the curve. He was a calming influence. He was an insightful influence. And he was a tremendous leader to his people, to his staff. I also want to call out the staff, and I know they're sitting back in that corner and over here. My exposure to many of our staff members it was in the context of being on council. And from what I see, what I've learned, we have a tremendous group of people dedicated every day to serving the needs of this community and to fulfilling the wishes and the demands of council. I'd like you to join me in giving them all, Derrick and his staff, a big round of applause for the hard work. All right, this is the last thank you. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to predict that there's quite a few people in this room who are in the same situation as my wife Valerie and our daughter Sarah. You got conscripted into running for office because my name was on the ballot. I know there are people here named Bosenworth. I know that I can see around the room members of family, members of friends. I saw you all on the campaign trail. Many of you helped put signs up. Many of you did a lot of good work like that. Again, as I said a few minutes ago, it's a stressful undertaking, and the stress carries into the House. And it seems like, notwithstanding the fact that there's only 10 names on the ballot, or there were more than 10, but the 10 of us had our names on the ballot, everybody was fully engaged. That is a tremendous source of strength. It's a great source of inspiration, quite frankly. And I would like to recognize, thank, and acknowledge anybody. In fact, I'll ask anybody who feels they're in that department. If you're a mom or a dad, or if you're a husband, a brother, a sister, a child who supported one of these 9 or 10, please stand. And I know who you are, so I'll watch for you to stand. Thank you so much for your service. All right, just a few personal thoughts about the upcoming term. We sort of have rules of engagement, as the person who's going to be chairing the meetings, and I think hopefully setting an example, I can tell you there are 4 real driving forces that I'm going to be hopefully creating among these. Actually, having spoken to them, it's already there. Number 1, everything we do is going to be done fairly, openly, and after appropriate consideration. Number 2, we're going to exercise our powers respectfully and always in the best interest of this township. Number 3, there's a very strong desire that I heard from many, many people that I spoke to improve our public engagement. I suspect that through COVID, I suspect that through other things, direct access to sit and listen, mostly listen, and talk a little bit with constituents, kind of got strained or pushed to the side. Well, we're going to bring it back into the middle. We're going to hold regular town hall meetings. We're going to hold levies. We are going to have what I would consider to be unstructured opportunities for dialogue. Nobody needs to come and listen to me speak. Nobody needs to come and read through an agenda. Come in, have a cup of coffee, and let's just talk. I think it's an important part of the process. I think it's a part that we can do better this term than we did last. God willing that the COVID restrictions stay away from us. We're going to make much better attempts to reach out and to communicate with our constituents. The 4th thing, and I heard this interestingly from all sorts of different people, and I wholeheartedly support it, we have to change our approach to administering this township from a reactive one to a proactive one. We seem to react extraordinarily well when something happens, but we need to be on the leading edge and cause whatever action needs to happen when something starts to go wrong. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute with the environmental issue. But I don't think it's good enough to wait for the phone to ring and find out there's a problem. We need to identify the problems before they become infectious and spread farther than we can quickly respond to. Now, every one of us, I think, as you well know, exercises 1 vote. We each have 1 vote. 10 of us will be making these decisions. And we approach each vote on our own terms. We can't work together or conspire together. We can share lots of information. But at the end of the day, we will approach problems individually and rely on our good conscience and our good efforts to find the right answer. So there's no sense that we have a common agenda. I want to dispel that notion right now. But again, reading campaign material, listening to each other in all candidates meetings, and speaking with every one of these 9 individuals over the last few weeks, there are probably 3 really common centers of attention that we want to focus on with this term of council. The first one, and these are my words, not theirs, environment first, which we kind of use a lot. Well, we're going to put the environment first. We're going to put the environment first. To me, makes a great bumper sticker because we've got to put some meaning behind it. We've got to put some meaningful bylaws behind it. We've got to be able to identify, quantify, monitor relative indicators of environmental health all across the township, and proactively prescribe remedial action before anything gets too broken to fix. There are so many opportunities for us to do that. We already have a lot of information that's coming in that isn't necessarily linked to zoning or planning decisions or policy decisions. And we need to link hard data to action and make sure we're actually saying something when we say we're putting the environment first. It's also important that 2 things. Environment, and a large part of our environment clearly is water quality, the water, the bodies of water. We share the watershed with about 15 other municipalities, 5 of them in the district and another 10 perhaps that touch on it. It would be a humongous task, but maybe it's time we take a lot harder look at how we work together to make sure we protect things like the watershed. And my second point, there are lots of other indicators of environmental health that we need to measure and monitor and be prepared to deal with. Everything from wildlife, to trees, to the forest cover. They all can be monitored, they all can be indicators of health, and they can all be baked right into our plan of action. The other issue, number 2 issue after the environment, is something that I think most of us heard over the last 2 months of campaigning, and that is a large and growing frustration among our constituents that we seem to be incapable of enforcing our own bylaws. We seem to be willing to let people get away with stuff that we shouldn't be letting them get away with, things that disrupt the environment, planning issues or development issues, for instance, things that disrupt peaceable occupation of what has traditionally been an extremely tranquil place. Noise violations, fireworks violations, dark sky violations. I want to make it clear, and I've tried to make this clear in everything that I put together. We have an excellent bylaw enforcement team. I have no doubt about their abilities or their commitment to the job. But I think we need to look hard to make sure that we're giving them the appropriate tools to work with. And if what we're prescribing in our bylaws are consequences of a breach, you go out and do something wrong, if the consequence is not sufficient to change your behavior, then there's really very little that anybody can do from a bylaw enforcement perspective to get things right. So this is kind of a long-winded way of saying we've got to take a look at it. If our fines aren't substantial enough to change behavior, we have to look at how we assess and what fines we're capable of levying. If fines will never be enough to modify behavior, we have to look at things like licensing programs for short-term rentals, licensing programs perhaps for contractors who come here and as part of their normal routine, touch our environment. I don't have the answers. I have a lot of questions, and every time I get face-to-face with a constituent, we hear this, we hear it repeatedly. I suspect and I know many of my fellow councilors have heard the same thing. So we need to give Rob Kennedy and his staff better tools to work with, more appropriate and more consequential actions to be taken as a result or as a consequence of breaching our bylaws. And we need to be able to give, to a certain degree, to a large degree, give Muskoka back to the people who truly are here because they have an emotional, not a transactional relationship with it. I'll leave that there. It's a big job. It's a huge undertaking. We need to deal with it quickly or soon because, quite frankly, it could exhaust this term, just getting things pulled together. The last thing, and these are in no particular order, but the last thing is there is a huge need for a ramped up effort to redefine our economic activity in this region, to find well-paying jobs, jobs that can support families that are putting down roots, that hope to buy a house, hope to have kids playing hockey in the arena and participating in events here. We need to be community builders. Community builders don't leave a big chunk of the community to their own devices when the opportunity for gratifying and well-paying employment is missing, and when the opportunity for attainable housing is equally missing. Those are two big issues. There are two issues that frankly transcend the jurisdiction of the township. I mean, we have a lot of work to do here, but we need to engage district, we need to engage with the province, and we need to find a way to get back to the time when our permanent year-round residents were part of a growing and healthy and happy community, and able hopefully someday to give back the way we have been able to give back to this community. So those are three big issues that I heard. As I said, there's no common platform, there's no common campaign, but there's clearly a common understanding that those issues must be addressed to the best of our abilities. All right, last few thoughts. Just a little bit about me. My previous careers in law and in business, I kind of developed a discipline around getting things done and using my outlook on life to help me get them done. And I think the best label that I would give myself, never had anybody else evaluate it, is I'm a pragmatic optimist. I generally walk into any problem fully believing that we will be able to find a solution. But the pragmatic side of my personality says there's going to be a lot of hard work. We're going to have to do it one step at a time. We're going to have to constantly check and recheck our thoughts and our calculations. But we will, I'm certain, find solutions for these problems and any of the others that come along. It's very comforting to know that we have the support of our CAO, Derrick Hammond, and for his terrific team. I frankly have no doubt in my mind that collectively we have the skills, we have the abilities, we have the passion to accomplish very much this term, but we will accomplish it one step at a time. I'm going to leave you with a quote, something that I don't recall where I found it or heard it, but something that I remind myself of every time I run into a new issue and I'm not sure how to fix it. Great things happen to those who don't stop believing, trying, learning, and being grateful. You have our commitment that we will believe, we will try, we will learn every day. And I hope you know how grateful I, and I think all 9 of us, or 9 others are, that you've entrusted us with this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Now I'm going to have Mayor Kelly read the confirming bylaw motion and the adjournment motion. It's right here. It's great.
All right. I'm going to now read the motion to pass the confirming bylaw for this, the inaugural meeting of council, and I will then call the vote. I have before me a motion moved by Councillor Mazan, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that bylaw 2022-198, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the inaugural meeting of council of the Corporation of the Township of Muskoka Lakes, held on the 22nd day of November 2022, be read first, second, and third time, and finally passed. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? That carries. Thank you very much. I think I have one more. When it gets us through till lunch. Yes. I would like to thank everybody. As I mentioned, there will be lunch. I don't know. Is it in? It looks like it's in here. Okay. Right here. I hope to get a chance to speak with each of you. Take the time to meet with councillors if you haven't already. And in order to get us there, I have a motion moved by Councillor Mazan, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that the inaugural council meeting for the Township of Muskoka Lakes be adjourned at, it looks like 11:55. Is that what that says? It's a long way away. At 11:55 a.m. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Surprisingly not. That carries as well. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.